You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma Podcast. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today, but before we do, I've got to thank our sponsors. First of all, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. They've been a huge part of this podcast for the last few years. So the Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. A huge shout out to Governor Anatoby for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. Our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my two pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my two golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. And the one thing that I do with the sponsors that I have is stuff that I use and recommend, like the Diffies with my car, Hall of Fame. They're awesome. Citizens Banks, where I bank. Chickasaw Nation, huge supporter of Oklahoma. And adding to that is the Doghouse. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too. But I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedogHouseOKC.com and follow them on Instagram at thedogHouseOKC. And hopefully our pups will run into each other. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode down at Prairie Surf Studios today. Huge shout out to Prairie Surf team, Prairie Surf Creative, for putting this on, having us, hosting us. You guys can't see it, but we look great right now because of the team that's behind the camera. So huge shout out to them. Before we get into it today, I want to introduce my co-host, which is also my boss. Mr. Wyatt Poindexter is here. Wyatt's been on the podcast. I'll put his episode in the show notes. But for people who haven't heard you will know who you are. Wyatt, who are you and what do you do?
Wyatt Poindexter. I'm with the agency. I've been in real estate for 29 years, and I'm not your boss. We're friends and we're colleagues.
That feels good. Now I got that camera too, so that's great.
But I heard that. Everybody heard that. Yeah.
But no, it gives us great pleasure to introduce our guest today, Mauricio Umansky, who is from the agency, and the reason that we're here. And I know there's a backstory to how you guys got connected, because I know this is something you didn't want to do for a very long time, right? You were happy where you were, didn't really want to be a broker or owner of a real estate company. But we're on this crazy ride now, and it's exciting. It's a lot of fun. From what I understand, of what I've known in the last, since this has kind of started, is that it's a fit for all of us, right? We're kind of perfect fit. Relationship business. The marketing fits us. Video, kind of lifestyle around luxury real estate. But yeah, let's start with that. What's your first connection, and how does that start with you and Mo?
Well, it started with a power washer.
Power washer?
A power washer.
Okay.
Had a cross sale with Wayne Kirby, my now partner. He was with Sotheby's. I was with Keller Williams. We had a very difficult deal with the buyer and the seller. I had the seller, he had the buyer. It was an NBA player. And we got down to where we're close to closing. The player's dad came in and said, we're not closing until the driveway is clear of any debris, anything. So Wayne calls me. He's like, man, they're not closing. He said, we need a power washer. I said, you got one? He's like, no. I said, I got one. I'll head over. So I headed over. It's in my sport coat. We power washed the driveway for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And Wayne at one point said, why are you still with Keller Williams? And I am going to use her name. And I said, you know what? I don't know. And there's nowhere in Oklahoma that I want to go. And he said, well, where would you go? I said, there's one place, and it's the agency, but they're never coming to Oklahoma. And so Wayne didn't hear of them, but he checked into them the next day, unbeknownst to me. Mm-hmm. He made the call, talked to Ricardo, and Ricardo relentlessly called me for 6 to 8 weeks. Never called him back. Finally called him back, and it just was smooth sailing from there on. And I'm so blessed to be with this company. The brand is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. It's just the coolest company to be with, and the owner's phenomenal as well. So I'm truly blessed to be here. I can't believe this is happening, really. It's a dream come true. I was beyond burned out, and this relit a fire that I needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, talk about things that you do in the luxury world to get deals done. Power washing someone's driveway.
Hey, whatever it takes.
It's not a small driveway, but it takes 3 hours to get it done, right?
That's right.
But yeah, that's
that sounds like a big driveway to me.
It sounds like a big in Oklahoma, it's a lot of
it was a big driveway.
Right? Yeah, but also speaks to the person you are of going out there and doing it yourself, right? You could have easily paid someone to do it, but you do it yourself. So when did you guys have the first phone call? When was that, and how does that go?
With Mauricio?
Yeah.
We actually talked one night when Mike Leapart was at the house, briefly talked at a dinner, but then that was kind of like, I actually read your book, and that's what really kind of, I said, okay, I want to see who I'm getting business with, and I didn't know you personally. I just thought, I was a little worried about the celebrity part of it, and I thought, I'm going to read this and see what happens, and there's a lot of things that I related to, especially being in a down market like 2008.
Yeah.
It was rough, but I thought, no one else is marketing, I'm going to double up. And I read that in your book that you did that.
Yeah.
And I reaped the rewards after that. Once we got past that, I mean, my business exploded. So I thought, okay, I get that.
Yeah, that's one of the things I took out of kind of your episode with Ed too, right? The book, for people listening, is called Deal Maker: How to Succeed in Business and Life Through Dedication, Determination, and Disruption. And the thing that you did very well, right, is, I think the quote is, when everyone's selling, you buy, and when everyone's buying, you sell, right? And so you double down. But the key thing there is, you said you didn't make your money at that point, you make your money after.
Right.
And so I think, where the real estate world is now, we don't know where it's going to go, but everyone's thinking that, right? Everyone's like, oh, what do I do? They're getting scared. They might be getting side jobs, worried about kids, whatever it is. So yeah, for people listening, go buy the book. Let's go back a little bit. Tell me about how it starts, how the agency comes about, to give people listening that some context if they don't know what the agency is. They've probably seen the TV show or the TV shows that you're associated with, but how does it start in your words?
Yeah, well, we started back in 2011, and it was really through just frustration. Kind of, I guess, similar to the story that you're telling, Wyatt, right now, which is, your frustration. You were kind of a little bit burned out. We were just talking, walking into here, and you and I started in real estate at the exact same time, and we're the same age and all that stuff. I'm not going to say how old we are. We'll keep that away from this episode here. But I think that it was just frustration, and I became ultimately the. During that time, I reached some great success as a real estate agent. I became ultimately the number 3 agent in the country in terms of sales volume, and that's when, back in the day when we were still counting volume kind of properly without all these big teams and combining numbers and all that stuff. But I became the number 3 salesman in the country. I was chasing number 1. All my life I was chasing, and then I just said to myself, you know what, this is just, it's a lot, and the stuff that I'm doing is teachable, it's repeatable, and it's needed, right? And we kind of took this approach when disruption was beginning to happen in the real estate market. I mean, we were ultimately born in September of 2011. 6 months later, Compass was born. So this was kind of that moment where just a lot of changes, right? It was kind of the end of, without everybody knowing, but it was the end of that 2008, recession when it all started, and just the banking, crisis and all of that stuff. And it was the end of that. Right. And we kind of took an approach. Everybody was taking different approaches. We took an approach of selling real estate through lifestyle and selling it through storytelling, right? Versus where everybody else was still selling, Instagram was kind of, being born. Social media was kind of still the beginning of the whole social media world. So there was just a lot of changes in the tech world and the way that people dealt with advertising, marketing, all of those different things. And we took an approach that was just unique and different to everybody else, right? While everybody else was selling 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, granite countertops, and meal appliances, we were selling, what were we doing, right? Like you come out of your house and what park are you going to and what coffee shop are you attending and who your neighbors are and what is your lifestyle like and what does all that look like? And we were doing it through video and through fun partnerships with Lamborghini and Ferrari and and Cartier and all of these different things. And then we were saying, all right, well, let's create experiential partnerships in the luxury brand and in the luxury world, and that's what we primarily do. And we can share clientele, right? And so if all of a sudden we're partnering with Lamborghini, and their buyers are buying $400,000 cars, they're probably buying $10 million homes, right? $5 million homes, $20 million homes. And so we want to partner with those same people, and our clients are buying their cars, right? So all of a sudden you start creating these experiential things, and everything changes. I mean, I remember when we were first born, our first project, it was the Ritz-Carlton Residences at AEG at LA Live. And that was down in the Staples Center, right? And it was owned by Anschutz Entertainment Group, right? So they owned the Lakers, they owned the Kings, and they're like, well, Mauricio, what are you going to do if you get the listing on this thing? And I said, well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you to, take all of your inventory back. Second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you to spend, a bunch of money on capital improvements. And they're like, the building's brand new. And I go, yeah, but it has no soul, right? And so, Phil Anschutz is scratching his head. I mean, here's this kid coming at me. He came at me with a business plan, and the agency didn't even exist. And it's a business plan that he's going to create the agency, and he's going to sell out my residence, and he's telling me to spend $8 million on this thing. Like, well, what the heck is going on here, right? But we did, and he did, and he trusted us, and we did some amazing experiential things. We did an event with Louis, the cognac, and we invited like 24 people. We had an amazing dinner, Wolfgang Puck at the penthouse at the Ritz-Carlton. We took everybody down this elevator that was built for Kobe Bryant, right? Went underground. We went through a tunnel. We popped out at the Staples Center. We're on the floor. We go inside the Kings locker room because the Lakers were playing that night. We go inside the Kings locker room, and I've got a jersey with everybody's last name hanging in the Kings locker room, a Lakers jersey, and they've got their own locker, their own whole thing, like talking about experiential marketing, right? Yeah. We sold 2 residences that day, gained a whole bunch of clients. Everybody won, and that was kind of the beginning and the birth of the agency.
Yeah, details, right?
Yeah, I love that. We get this, don't we?
We get this. We understand.
We're car guys too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, anytime we can collab, right? We'll figure out.
Right.
Hey, Elliot, who's a great partner of ours at Exotic Motorsports Oklahoma, like we get a phone call. Hey, we have a listing. Can we come and get a car? He's like, yeah. What do you want? I'm like, well, you got a really nice Ferrari at the moment. I think that'd fit, and he's been great. So that's been fun for us. But so the core philosophy sounds like of the agency, is collaboration, right? Where does that come from in your world, though? Because you came from the fashion space to begin, right? Does that come from this fashion space, or was that something that you have in your childhood that you're like always aware of?
I think collaboration is just, it's just so important. We were talking this morning about ethics. We were talking about, and part of ethics is collaborating, right? You can look at your colleagues as competitors, or you can look at them as collaborators, and colleagues. Exactly. And I've always said, we're colleagues. We work together. And in real estate, people don't realize how important it is for brokers and agents to actually work together. And yes, we are a dog-eat world, and yes, it is competitive. But at the end of the day, if we can actually look at each other and work together and share and collaborate, we make a lot more money. We get more information. We get more details, off-market listings, who the buyers are, where are their deals, right? You start uncovering things. When you become a competitor and you work alone, you work alone. You're only as good as yourself. And so, from my perspective, it was just always important to embrace the industry and embrace the people. And I love this industry, which is why I've launched the American Real Estate Association, why I'm working on, other stuff like a national listing service, all of these things is because I love this industry that's given so much to me, and I want to give back to it. And that just comes back from the philosophy of being, collaborators and sharing.
Yeah, it's will to be a better place, right?
Definitely.
We've got some
Put the
stories.
egos aside.
Yeah. No.
Just trying to sell a house.
Exactly. Before we dive into the Oklahoma thing, the other big thing I took away from kind of, I think it's in your book too, is the life lesson you had from your grandfather. It's the 24 hours in a day and the time, the 3/8. You share that story a little bit?
Yeah, everybody always asks me about. I'm busy. I'm a busy guy, right? I think everybody knows that. The last. This is my last stop, guys. By the way, my final stop.
That to be your sign off.
I have been in 14 cities in the last 3.5 weeks. And those 14 cities include, Israel, Portugal, Vancouver. So it's not like I went, traveled, the South, right? So I'm a busy guy, and so everybody's always asking me, like, Mauricio, how do you balance your time? And I'm a father of 4 kids. I'm running, a business that now has 120 plus offices. A husband, multiple television shows, like all of these things, writing a book, all of these things. And so everybody says, Mauricio, how do you do it? How do you balance your time? How do you balance your life? And I remember as a kid, man, my grandfather just always used to tell me, he goes, Mauricio, there's only 24 hours in a day. Like, that's what you got, right? And he said, you got to have balance. And it just kind of stuck to me. It was just always about balance, and he just used to say the 3/8, 8 hours for sleep, 8 hours for play, 8 hours for work, right? And to me, like, yes, it's obviously, you never hit that. You never hit 8 hours for work, 8 hours for sleep, and 8 hours for play. Like, you just don't hit that. But when you start thinking about balance, you start thinking about where do you borrow from, right? And when you realize you only have those 8 hours, those 24 hours, and then what I've done is I've taken that time and I break it down. You can talk to my assistant and everybody that works for me, like, I break it down. My calendar is not about hours, it's about minutes. And it's not about 30 minutes or 15 minutes, it's sometimes about 5 minutes, right? And if I see that I have 10 free minutes, or I can make a call 45 minutes instead of an hour, we will figure out what we can do with those 15 minutes, right? We will be the most efficient people on the planet. Like, we will create 3 5-minute phone calls in those 15 minutes, right? It doesn't I just don't go walk around and see what that looks like. So it's all about efficiency, it's all about time, and it's all about balance. And you need to have that balance in your life in order to just, to be sane, and in order to be a good parent, and in order to be a good boss, and in order to be a good businessman. And if you use that time wisely and you use it efficiently, you can get a lot of stuff done in just 60 seconds. It's pretty awesome how much stuff, people don't realize how much they can get done in 60 seconds. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I know Liz is listening to that being like, I really hope we can structure Wyatt's day into minutes.
She's my operations manager, Liz. You'll meet her.
She's awesome and a rock star, and the reason that we're on time most of the time, right? And everything that's happening tonight is because of Liz. So thank you so much.
Well, I can't wait to meet you, Liz.
Yeah. The other thing I think that stands out too, and one thing that you do really well, and I think one thing that very successful real estate agents, it comes naturally to them, and it's charisma, right? And just kind of being comfortable around people, being, easy to talk to. And that's one thing that, when you're a new agent coming into a space, or you're going to your first $1 million listing and you're kind of nervous, you overthink, and you get worked up, you're like, they're just people, right? But you got that's a skill to read the room. And so I know this is something you've developed over a very long time, and you've got some great stories about, your first $1 million sale. Any advice for people listening around that as well, from both of you?
Mine was just being relentless of trying to get a luxury listing. I asked my dad, I said, Dad, why don't you go for the luxury listings? He goes, there's like 2 people that do them. He said, that's not my deal. I can't do those. And I said, well, I'm going to try. He said, well, go for it. You have my support. Found out a guy was going to list his house and went to his door, knocked on it. I was relentless, sending mails. I think it was before email. And the guy finally said, stop calling me. I've already chose my agent. You've never sold a house like this. I said, I just need one opportunity. He goes, man, I'm sorry. And so went to his door again, left the door hanger, called me again. He said, listen, he said, you're harassing me now. And I was like, I'm sorry. I said, give me 5 minutes of your personal time and I'll never bother you again. He's like, all right, come on over. So we had just got a credit card, and we didn't have any money. And my wife is a teacher, and I made $11,000 my second year real estate. My first check was $666. So it was crazy. So I told my wife, I said, we got this card, max is $2,500. I said, if I get this listing, what do you think about spending the full $2,500 on this listing? And she said, let's think about it, pray about it. And we did. And she said, let's do it. So I did. And I told the guy, went over to the house, and we talked, and he said, man, your presentation was great. I like everything you're doing. He said, but you just don't have the experience. And I said, what if you give me 30 days and I do it for free? And he said, why would you do that? I said, I just need one chance. And he's like, done, 30 days, go. So I've spent all this money, $2,500 marketing, did high-end photography, we didn't have drone stuff then, but I did the mailers and all that. And I found the buyer the first week and sold it. Get to closing, and I saw what I would have made because they put it on the settlement statement, the 6%. And I looked and I was like, oh, I said, you guys need to take it off. I told them to do it for free. They said, actually, he called in and said, give you the full 6%.
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm like, oh, thank you, Lord.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
because really I felt like I won the lottery. And so I used that money that I made from that deal to keep going with other listings. Mm-hmm. And the last time I checked, and this was years ago, that one deal got me 65 deals. So that's where it put me in my place. I mean, I was like, okay. My dad was like, well, you did it. I've never been able to do it. I don't know how you did this. But
I mean,
that was my start.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. What was the man's name?
Ron Buchanan.
Yeah, that's a
He
beautiful
does not
story.
know to this day.
He doesn't?
No. And I need, it's one of those ones
you
I
gotta
just need
find
to tell him.
Yeah. Tell him thank you.
I know.
Yeah. That's,
Oh, that's beautiful. That brought tears to my eyes.
yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
There's so many great real estate stories that, we're just in this room that we have, right? But every agent's got something. Like there's always someone out there that's either giving you a chance or you've, like I said, you were relentless doing that. Mm-hmm. And, I'm a big fan of Ed and, we hit the power of one more, right? Just
I love
one more phone call, like just one more, whatever it is, like the power of one more and relate it to anything that you do. I mean,
I always do one more rep now at the gym. Like I think of that. I'm
One
like,
more second,
I got to
the
do
ice
one
bath.
more. Yeah.
Edmond, that's great. He's amazing. He's a good friend, and he's just been such a great, supporter of us and all that stuff. And he's just a great, great man.
How's his golf game?
Not bad, man. He's pretty good. he was a good baseball player. So
Because
good.
he's a big dude.
He's
right?
a good golfer.
I don't know how he swings with like arms, the
He's
cannons
a good
that
golfer,
he has.
yeah.
But, yeah. I know his son. It seems like his son's got some skills.
His
too,
son's great.
But
Yeah.
is it Max? I think his
Yeah.
son's name. Yeah. So how's your golf game at the moment?
My golf game's all right, man. It's
Yeah?
not, I don't think it's quite yours, but I can play golf. I mean, I haven't played in a while. I went out the other day and shot even par, so.
Been on the road for 14, whatever it is, and now it comes like, yeah, okay.
I did. I'll
Yeah.
tell you a story. I played at the American Express, and that's how I became friends with John Rahm. I was playing golf with John Rahm and Ches
Reavie.
Reavie. And Ches was my partner, and Rahm was on the other side, and Bones was on the mic, and he was following our group because they were the featured group. Rahm was obviously the featured group. I was telling him jokes the whole time. I had him laughing. He's become a good friend of mine now, and we're on the 12th tee, and Bones comes up to me, and I'm 3 under, and Rahm's 2 under, gross. And Bones comes up to me and he goes, dude, what's your handicap? And I'm like, I'm a 5. He goes, darn good 5.
Yeah.
He goes, we all want you in our club championships and our member guests, et cetera, et cetera. So I go on and I'm teasing Rahm. I'm like, Rahm, I'm going to beat you. I'm playing from an upper tees. I'm a different set of tees, obviously. I'm teasing him. I'm like, are you going to let me beat you? Or like, is that what's going to happen right now? He turned it up a notch, threw a couple of birdies in, and I bogeyed a hole. I finished, I think I shot a 68 that day. I shot 4 under, and pretty good.
What's funny, you might not know, I'm a golfer, so I got, Ches Reavie is about 5'5",
Yeah.
and John Rahm is like 6'3".
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't pick two different guys
No.
walking down the fairway, but they both play professional golf, and they both residents
both
out
great.
in Arizona, and got some great property out in Arizona, play at Whisper Rock in Arizona, which is a fantastic golf course. Yeah, I can't imagine that that went down well when you told John Rahm that, like, I'm going to beat you today, because he's got that Spanish fire in him.
He's got that Spanish
And that
fire, but we've become
competitiveness.
good friends. And he came over to my house during COVID, and he looked at he knows this story. And his caddy's become a really good friend. But he came over to my house one time in LA, and during COVID, and I invited him over to dinner. He eats his steak raw, by the way. I'm like, how do you like your steak? He goes, raw, and I'm like, raw, like. He goes, yeah, like blue. Like I'm like, all right. I'm like,
That's the secret to hitting a 350.
I'm like, all right, whatever, man. But he looks at my putting green. He goes, darn small putting green. And I'm like, changing that shit fast. So he leaves. I call up putting green guy. I rebuilt my putting green. I'm like, I need the biggest putting green on the planet, and I built this humongous putting green. I invite John over next year. He's back in LA for the tournament. I invite him back over, and I'm like, How do you like my putting green now?
Because he's got a bunker built into his too, right? He's got like a full bunker and everything and full practice. Yeah, I'm sure like stories like that of the world that you live in, right? And the ability to not stroke the ego a little bit, but you're like, I'm going to go do this because I can, right?
Yeah.
And just the ability of just doing that and just having that banter with, like people watch John Rahm. He won the Masters, right? Like I played with him once when I was a kid. We both birdied the first hole, and then I marked his scorecard for the rest of the day, and he just disappeared into the distance.
Yeah.
But from that night, it was played in Sweden, European Team Championships. That was the last night of the tournament. We all went out because the hotel was attached to a nightclub and a bar in Sweden, and everyone's beautiful in Sweden. So we were like, we're not playing golf, we're going out. Team Wales is going out, walking down the corridor. Who's in the corridor? John Rahm, foam rolling, and he was there all night. Like I remember that moment because I'm like, that's the difference, right?
Yep.
But yeah, there's.
But going back to what your original question was, which is about people, which is kind of important, particularly for everybody. I think one of the biggest issues that people have is fear, right? And overcoming our fear is probably one of the most difficult things that we all have ourselves. And when real estate agents think about selling a luxury home, they fear the person that's behind there. They fear the fact that that's a wealthy, successful human being, and they fear the fact that they're how are they going to approach this person? Like, they're better, they're stronger, they have more, and it's like, how am I going to approach this person, right? And I think that one of the things that we all need to realize is that people are just people. It doesn't matter what they have, what they've done, what they've succeeded on. At the end of the day, they are still people. And we as real estate agents, we are, in theory, charismatic. If we're good agents, we know what we're talking about. We know our inventory, we've got knowledge, and what we need confidence. And if you can approach that person who is just a person, as you did, with confidence, and you believed in yourself when you knocked on that door and you got Buchanan's listing, and you sold it, you had that confidence in yourself, right? And that was the difference. Other people don't have that confidence, and they arrive, and the person on the other side, who is a successful person, reads and understands that confidence, right? And as you were talking about that story, so we have to overcome that. At the end of the day, we are dealing with just people, right? It's like, you get into this big thing, and the bigger you get, and you get into like the Fortune 500 companies, like, oh, I'm dealing with Apple. Well, you're not dealing with Apple. You're dealing with with Tony Q. You're dealing with Steve Jobs. Like, you're dealing with it, and who is that? It's a person. It's a human. Okay, and at the end of the day, you have the opportunity to deal with whoever it is that you're dealing with. It reminds me of a story. I showed a house. Bill Phillips. Do you remember Body for Life? He was a great dude. He started a company. I think it's called EAS.
Yeah.
It was his house, and I was selling it, and the Emir of Qatar came to look at the house. And when the Emir arrived at the house, he arrived with, I haven't told this story in a long, long time, he arrived with 6 motorcycle, cops, 6 cars, Secret Service. I mean, I cannot even begin to tell you the entourage that arrived, the motorcade that arrived. It was insane, right? And they walk in, and the Emir walks in, and I'm trying to show him the house, and I'm doing this whole thing, and the Emir is literally like the Secret Service men, who are 7 feet taller than I am, okay, and 4 feet wider than I am, are there, and I'm trying to show, and they're like blocking me from getting close to the Emir. And I show him the first room, I show him the foyer, and we're walking back into the foyer in order to go into the rest of the room. And I go, Mr. Emir, I just have to ask you a question. Are you enjoying the house at all? He goes, yeah, I like it. I go, do you mind asking, these guys to like step away so that I can actually like show you the house and like talk to you and like do my job? And he looks at me and he's like, yeah, I don't mind that. And he tells him to move away. And the rest of the showing, I do with him. I get to know him. We end up selling him another property for $50 million.
That's incredible.
And all of a sudden that creates. But again, it's just a human, right? And it's that confidence in yourself that you have to get through. I would assume most people would have just let the guy continue to walk and do his thing and have all of these humongous Secret Service people in the way that you couldn't see the house.
Yeah.
So again, it's just people are just people.
Yeah. So yeah, to that point then, is there anyone kind of through your life or people or experiences that have shaped you?
I mean, I don't know. There's one person that has shaped me. I think if you read my book and you look at my book, there's a lot of people that have shaped me. My grandfather, my father, clients. There's actually a gentleman that called me this morning. I didn't get a chance to take his call. His name's George Santopietro. His son works for me now, and he's just kind of crushing it. He gave me confidence to get into the high-end luxury real estate world. He gave me my first job delivering pizzas. I remember, I failed my math class. I was supposed to go to Acapulco. I failed my math class. My parents are like, you can't go to Acapulco. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, all right, I'll go deliver pizzas. George gave me my first job delivering pizzas. I delivered, pizza to him. He was married to Vanna White at the time. Vanna White opens Nico's mom opens the door, and I'm like, ooh, wow, she is hot. I deliver another pizza. I deliver a third pizza to my parents. My parents give me a $500 tip. I never returned to the pizza shop. I kept 5 pizzas in my trunk, went straight to the airport, went to Acapulco. But he still hired me, and I've sold many homes. He became a developer, an art dealer. He's an amazing man. He's living in Thailand right now. I'm going to be speaking with him as soon as this podcast is over. And, but we sold a house. He built the house that we leased to Prince. That kind of gave me my entry to Prince. Bad stories, you guys read in my book about, the story about the television character that, told me that I was the lowest, scum of the earth, that I was, and basically that was Kelsey Grammer, by the way. I just didn't want to put that in the book. Yeah. He called me up, and, those moments where failure and you convert, I think the moments where you take failure and you convert failure into success, that's where you have the most powerful moments in your life. And that's when you really create, something special, and something triggers in your mind. And something triggers where you just change, right? But those are the most amazing moments when you can take a complete failure, conquer that fear, and then convert that into a positive. There's nothing like that.
Oh, yeah.
Who stands out in your world?
Oh, my dad, 100%. He was such an impact on my life, and he was just the best man, best salesman. I remember when we went through financial crisis with our family, and my thing is music. I love music and concerts, and I collect memorabilia. You know all about this. But I remember my dad, I went to him. I said, hey, Motley Crue's coming in concert. I want to get some tickets. He goes, we don't have the money. He said, get creative. He said, don't wait for opportunities, create them. And I thought, okay. So a friend of mine was a photographer.
Love that.
And so I said, hey, can I borrow some of your photos? He said, for what? I said, I want to do little fanzines for the bands that I love. He goes, what for? I said, I'm going to send them to him and have people subscribe to them and just see what happens. So I did Def Leppard, U2, Kiss. I did all my favorite bands. And they responded. And they were like, hey, we got 2 front row tickets for you. We got backstage passes, whatever you want. I'm like, what did I just do? So now I'm going to all the stuff that I love for free, and I'm meeting the people that I love, and I'm trading stuff with them now. I'm getting guitars signed. I'm getting all this. So it's about creating that opportunity.
Created your own opportunities.
That's right. Instead of waiting for it. So my dad things will never change until you decide to change them.
Yeah, no, that's totally right.
I love you, Dad, for that.
Yeah, yeah. And you have his original phone on the desk in your office, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to see that.
The rotary.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
nice. Sitting right there. It's just a nice memory of him. Whenever I'm feeling stressed or bad, I'm like, that phone right there got so much business from my dad,
Yeah.
Try to get one of these kids to use a rotary phone.
I know.
I don't know how they like it.
I know.
Yeah. What do I do with it, right? Why does the phone have a string?
Yeah, why do we saying hang up?
Just pushing the button. Yeah. Well, everyone talks on speakerphone now as well, don't they?
That's true.
To that point, I guess, you're busy, right? Like you said, you're busy. You've been all over the place. I know you're super busy too. I try not to be busy, but I enjoy it a little bit. What do you do to get the most out of life? Not just work, enjoy yourself. Like, for as much as we know, we're going to be on this planet once, right? And like, obviously you play golf, but yeah, what do you do to get the most out of life other than selling and traveling around the world?
Well, first of all, I love business.
Okay.
So for me, when I'm working and I'm doing what I'm doing, it's a high. I don't consider it, work and, and it is work. I do consider it work, but I love it. I love innovating. I love creating. I love all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's, I work so that I can ski. And I'm like you, like we lost, all of our money at one point. We had to start over. And, my wife, Kyle, was clipping coupons in order to go to the supermarket. And, when I started in real estate, we didn't have a penny, and, we were living, in a 2-bedroom condo. We were a family of 4, a family of 5, 3 kids, and us in a 2-bedroom condo at the beginning. And so I love it. I absolutely love it. But I love to ski. My big thing is skiing. I love to play golf, but I like to ski. Everything I do so I can ski. And travel to ski, right? So I work out and stay in shape so I can ski. I do mobility so I can ski. I do meditation. I do mindset. I do affirmations to keep me sane so that I can ski. But at the end of the day, I'm a skier. Okay. Like, that's what I do.
Snowboarder. That's my favorite.
There you go.
Yeah. I will not set foot on a mountain other than to have a beer and maybe go to
Have you never
concert.
skied?
Never done it. Never done it because of I like F1 and our Schumacher hit his head, and there's been a bunch of other stuff, and I know that I'm not coordinated enough to go down a mountain. But yeah, one day, maybe in another life. Finishing up, let's talk a little bit about the Oklahoma luxury real estate scene. We got a fantastic new listing going live today, which will be out by the time, hopefully sold by the time this goes out. $22 million in, it's kind of South Oklahoma City, fantastic property. And the owner, hopefully will be on the podcast too. It's going to be a great story, and what he's done with his business is fantastic. But let's talk a little bit about the Oklahoma luxury scene and what that means, obviously, for the agency to be in Oklahoma as well.
Yeah, this listing, by the way, he has $22 million in it. We're going to list it for $15 first.
Okay.
So
there we go.
Hopefully
we can
get
edit
him
that
on the podcast.
Yeah.
The luxury market is what it is right now. It's tough. In a way, I kind of consider it a blessing right now because this has helped me kind of get the agency running, and we wanted to get past this launch party tonight for recruiting. I have not gone after one person yet. I wanted to wait till I had everything ready. I had Olivia, our ma'am. So we got her in place now. So I feel like, okay, now we're in place. Now we're ready. Let's kill it,
Yeah.
So, it's, for me, production's great, but it's about the people. I've got to have people with character and people with integrity. That is number one for me. If they produce $100 million and they're a rule number 1, they're not coming with me.
Yeah. Rule number 1 in the agency world, for those that don't know, is no assholes.
Yeah, there you go.
We've done a pretty good job of that so far.
Yeah.
Well, I got to say that, I've got a chance to meet you shortly now. We've had a couple of conversations, but I always say that, from the agency's perspective, is that we open up markets based on the people that we get to partner with. And just in this short period of time, I am so pleased and happy that we did it with you and, with Wyatt and Wayne, and and now meeting you. I get goosebumps, man. And I love Oklahoma. I love Oklahoma City. I've had, good friend of mine, Mike Leapart's from here, and gotten a chance to meet Desmond Mason, and he's become a good friend of mine. And so I just love the city. But at the end of the day, luxury is not, it's not a price point. It's a service, and it's a lifestyle.
Exactly.
And for us to be able to have the opportunity, and everybody always asks me, they say, Mauricio, how do you pick your markets? And I go, I don't pick my markets. I pick people. And sitting here getting to know you guys, we picked the right people.
Oh, good.
And we feel really, really good about it. And I just, it's ethics, it's spirituality, and it's service, right? And to our clients, and it's about caring. And as you just said something like, I haven't gone after anybody, right? If you read my book, one of my big chapters is, dress me slow because I'm in a hurry, right? And so a lot of the things that you and I have been talking about just today, it just makes me feel so good and so blessed. And I'm so excited to be here in Oklahoma City today. And we're going to celebrate hard today. And we're going to do some good blessings. And we're going to put some good energy out there. And we're going to paint the town red.
That's right.
It is. It's going to definitely be red. I'm going to be in these pants all day. Finishing up. What is your, you're opening your huge growth period at the moment, right? Like I said, you're traveling a lot, you're opening a lot of markets. Thankfully, you're in Oklahoma, and we really appreciate that as well. You just gas pedal to the floor right now, opening up and all over the world, not just the U.S.
I think it's just about continuing to build a network, the people that are great, like-minded people that want to network, that want to collaborate, right? It's you know, at the end of the day, when you're in luxury, you deal with the same type of the same clients everywhere. I mean, I can tell you, I live in Aspen, Colorado, as well as Los Angeles. But in Aspen, Colorado, there's a lot of Oklahoma families, right? And so when you're talking about luxury, you're talking about people that travel to different places and to the same place. So we can continue to build a network throughout the world, where ultimately it becomes a very small world, right? We always say it's a small world. Yeah, it's a small world because it's the same people, right, everywhere. And so really we're just trying to build a great network, great people, and just, you know, keep going, man.
Yeah. Last question, fun one. What are you Googling right now? What are you fascinated by?
What am I Googling right now? I'm fascinated, honestly, I'm just obsessed from a business perspective, and I just cannot stop reading about it right now. And I'm just fascinated about the opportunities that are occurring right now with the National Association of Realtors breakup of the monopoly. And, you know, that breakup, I think, is going to create some amazing opportunities in an industry that's been under monopoly for 120 years. And it's time to get innovative. It's time to get creative. It's time to get better, more competitive. And I'm happy that I get the opportunity to be leading a company and living during the period where the industry that I happen to be in is a monopoly and a cartel that's being broken up. And I just think there's going to be some amazing, fun opportunities. I don't know what they are yet, but I'm really excited about some of those opportunities.
Yeah.
Embracing that change, I think it's critical.
Embracing that change, yeah.
I like it.
What are you Googling right now?
Googling.
Yeah, what are you looking at? That's not real estate related.
I'm probably seeing who's coming in concert.
Yeah.
Or cars.
Cars and
Yeah,
concerts.
stuff like that,
Who's coming?
yeah.
Anyone coming to town? Are you going to see anybody?
No, nobody's coming right now.
I
wanna
did
go
see the
Eagles.
I was going to say
at
the Eagles are at the
That's what I
Severe
gotta
now.
go to
That's what's
that.
happening. That's where you're
Yeah,
going. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Ricardo just told me he saw the Grateful Dead at the Sphere. So
Oh, nice. Okay.
I want to go to the Sphere, by the way. I'm really excited about
it's
that.
I saw U2 there, and it was mind blowing. They're my favorite band, but just seeing them in that element with the sound, you don't need earplugs. I'm just like, this is phenomenal.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I want to go to that.
Yeah. Well,
What are
great.
you Googling right now?
Yeah.
So one of my like bucket list childhood dreams is to get a hot seat, backseat ride in a fighter jet, F-16, something hot, right? Like I like speed. And I'm from the UK, so World War II Spitfires as well would be really cool. So there's a company that owns the Spitfire World War II fighter jet back home in the UK, and you can do some discovery flights to them, and they simulate a dogfight. So either that, or maybe through the podcast, I get a hot seat. I would just watch the Blue Angels documentary, which is incredible. And so that was like, ooh, maybe I can get a backseat media pass into a fighter jet. So that's what I'm kind of manifesting and Googling right now.
Oh, that sounds so exciting. Okay, so I gotta change what I'm Googling because now you're talking about
business.
Well, you're talking about hobbies.
Yeah.
So what I'm Googling right now and I'm working on, I'm very excited about, is I'm working on creating a ski trip next winter time. And I'm going to do it in one of two places. It's either going to be in Norway in the fjords, or it's going to be in Alaska. And what I'm doing is I'm doing an expedition yacht. So we're going to be sailing on either on the fjords or Alaska. And I'm going to be heli skiing from the yacht, and I'm going to be going off into the mountains and skiing down to the yacht. And so that should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. This is with all the managing partners.
Yeah. I was gonna say, yeah. Get the invite to that. Well, I know, like I said, you're packed, jam-packed day. We're excited to have you in town and to show you off, and it's time to go cut the ribbon.
Let's do it.
Have some lunch, and then it's party time tonight. So
Let's go.
Let's go.
All
Thank you
right.
so much for being here. For people listening,
Thanks, Mauricio.
we will
Thank you.
catch you next episode. Cheers. Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffees really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffeeford.net, and then on Instagram at diffeefordlincoln. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my 2 pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my 2 golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. And the one thing that I do with the sponsors that I have is stuff that I use and recommend, like the Diffees with my car, Hall of Fame. They're awesome. Citizens Banks, where I bank. Chickasaw Nation, huge supporter of Oklahoma. And adding to that is the Doghouse. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too. But I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedogHouseOKC.com and follow them on Instagram at thedogHouseOKC. And hopefully our pups will run into each other.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.